tall to the ceiling. Dollars, hundreds, thousands, millions. I'm talking A-rap money, pass it down to the children. Millions, billions, trillions, and zillions. I get money stacking tall to the ceiling. Dollars, hundreds, thousands, millions. I'm talking A-rap money, pass it down to the children. Millions, billions, trillions, and zillions. I get money when all else fails. Living the life with a story to tell. You see the ice in the busy, people stop and stare. Diamonds shining, they glisten from the clear. I'm in the air, you on the Greyhound bus.
Entrepreneurship for creatives, and it's kind of okay. You don't have a mic, that's what's up. But like I said, this is entrepreneurship for creatives, and the whole thing is just kind of really, breaking down entrepreneurship more so from like a, from a creative aspect. Because I see a lot of resources that that I have used, as well as some just popping up out the blue, and they're not really geared towards like creatives or artists, or like people that are like trying to monetize their talent or monetize some type of intellectual property of some such, whether it's an idea, or it's a like a song, or like you playing music, stuff like that. So it's just kind of getting into it, and I gotta remember that the PowerPoint is on this computer because I keep pressing that one. So let's move this right here. So to kind of, you all might kind of know some of this stuff, but what is an entrepreneur? Entrepreneur is a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses and takes on the greater than normal financial risk, and for the most part, my opinion, entrepreneur is a risk taker, and it's a person who's devoted to whatever idea or concept that they feel will hopefully make a profit, because that's kind of what the end goal is, to kind of make a profit and have a sustainable income financially to support you, as well as your family, and your staff, if you're going towards that. It's four types of entrepreneurship. The small businesses, which most of us kind of should fall into the three categories of the four, but I'll break them down. Scalable startup, which is obviously what it says, a large company, and a social enterprise, kind of to just go into them. A small business is more so. Let me delete 1 second. That's right there. But a small business is, corporations and partnerships and sole proprietorships. That's more so, just regular small businesses that's less than 500 employees. I ain't gonna read all of that, but it's pretty much a small business if it's, they have, I forget, I don't know the exact number, but I believe it's like about 2 million and like under 500 employees, so that's kind of what constitutes a small business. A scalable startup would, kind of be an innovative idea that kind of has a similar business model to most, but they basically have, a quick turnaround that will, kind of cause some type of disruption within the market. And that's really, a different thing when it comes to the market game, because when you have something that could like easily disrupt the market, like when you just kind of think of like just like Uber, something, when you do innovative things and include stuff like tech, and like it will make something as simple as getting a taxi cab or getting a ride somewhere is kind of innovative to just like press a button, and in like 2 or 3 minutes somebody is like at your door to like take you where you have to go. you know like I said, large companies, they're obviously kind of big and they have at least 500 workers or more. We won't really get into that because those are the people that we're more so competing against well, I'm competing against. I won't speak for you all, but yeah, a social enterprise, which is kind of the newer thing. I mean, it's not newer as far as like nonprofit organizations, but they have different, corporation statuses that you could do like a low profit corporation as well as like a social enterprise. That would be the type of corporation, but these organizations, they pretty much make commercial strategies that will like make differences in communities and actually benefit the residents as well as the members of the actual organization. And they could be structured as like a business or as a partnership or for profit, a nonprofit, even a co-op, mutual organizations, as well as like a trust fund could possibly be considered, a social enterprise, because it really depends on, like if they have philanthropical, uh, if it's just a mission that they're pushing. If someone say passed away and just left so much money into this trust and say that they want to give, money just to, women that are, single women that have kids, so that's kind of a different form of social enterprise, And I mean, there's definitely many, like I said, if it's dealing with the arts and stuff like that, but the five characteristics of an entrepreneur, and I mean, there's definitely more than this, but it's just kind of the road that most entrepreneurs would end up, taking, being motivated, obviously being self-motivated by nature, putting in long hours and basically doing, I guess, obviously whatever you feel it takes to, get the job done, and you invest everything from the ground up to pursue the dreams, you know, be passionate, obviously. You tend to be driven, by what you're doing, and you're basically making a difference with what you're doing, and people feel that like that resonates, and especially in 2021, like if somebody's faking it, you kind of could tell. So at the end of the day, like if they're passionate about what they're doing, like it's gonna resonate. And being an entrepreneur, you should definitely be passionate about what it is that you're doing. You know Having a vision, like being clear as far as like the goals that you want to accomplish, and just knowing, the objective and what is going to take to actually, fulfill it and reach the end of the goal. Because many people, obviously start a lot of things and then they end up failing. But the reality is, you need to basically have a vision and kind of know, what the end game is. You know, having confidence. Obviously, if obviously, like I said on the couple slides ago, like if you're passionate and you're confident about what it is that you're selling, or what it is that you're presenting, like people will definitely respect it, and they if they rock with it, they will support you, so just having confidence in your products, like if you're an artist and you're pushing art, or think you said Anita, like as far as like just dealing with museums and just being confident about what pieces and what gallery that you're trying to actually propose to put in here, like this will work perfect in here, like like if say it's the 50-year anniversary or the anniversary or something, like if it just aligns perfect with their mission and you're confident like 100%, people going gravitate towards it, and obviously decision making skills, and that comes, it's definitely nothing that happens overnight, but the decision making skills comes from making these types of decisions, especially like on the fly, because being an entrepreneur, every decision that you make isn't going to be, the best. Hopefully it's not the worst, but it'll allow you to, you know, move forward to better opportunities, but like it says, you not only have the skills to make great decisions, but you have the capacity to make those decisions quickly. And you don't want to miss opportunities, but people always miss opportunities. And as an entrepreneur, you kind of have to weigh the options and see what is the value and if you missing out on it, like will it come back around and stuff like that. And it all really depends on the products or services that you're selling or providing. Because if you're selling, like, say, a product that you could scale, that's like, say, a manufacturing product, to where it's like you're making like pieces of equipment or making like jewelry or just making anything that you could mass produce, like your costs, your profit margin, that's kind of really where you're going to make money. So if you could mass produce something like that, you could really make some money. But if you're selling, time, like if you're like, say, a recording engineer or like a music producer or something like that, you know, then you're kind of like not necessarily limited, but it's like if you're getting paid hourly, you're only getting paid, so much for those hours, and it's only so many hours per day. So if you're getting commissioned off of, say, a project, or like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you kind of gotta do the cost, time, benefit, and just kind of weigh everything out. But like I said, just having those decision making skills on the fly, because like I said, you might run into somebody, in the elevator, and you might run into them, at Whole Foods or at the store or wherever. And you might have to think of something, on the fly, and hopefully it'll, make sense. So definitely the decision making skills. So moving forward, I would say, as an entrepreneur, you have to think like an entrepreneur, and most businesses are kind of build off of solving problems. So what problem could you solve? you know and when you kind of look at that, like, you know it's so many problems. Like I said, when you think of like Uber and stuff like that, when you think of like, even, excuse me, like people, excuse me, riding around in their cars, dropping people off. That was the connection with Uber and like DoorDash and all those, like Grubhub, because it's like now we can get these same people to drop food off and whatnot. So when you kind of think about it like that, is just really more solving a problem. And that'll, like I said, if it's disruptive, because if it's already something that's going on, it's gonna obviously end up being, a different outcome, because now it's something new and people are always gonna, gravitate towards it. Is it a freelance economy, with whatever it is that you're doing? Can you do it, freelance? Like dealing with Anita, she said, with the museums, so is this something that you could do freelance? Could you like freelance contract for artists on the freelance side, to whereas you're doing a couple artists, a month, and that's helping out. Is it something that could generate multiple revenue streams? You know, so whereas if kind of like dealing with like art and stuff like that, something that if you make it, one time, like a physical product, you're basically replicating and selling it. Or if you have like a course, like, say, this, if I have this in a whole series of courses, and then break it down and put it online, and now I'm selling it, for $50 for the series or something. And then like on Black Friday, you got all these courses, and then you like sell them all for but just like think like that. Like, and obviously will tech enhance what it is that you're doing, because just thinking of Uber, like, the fact that if I need a ride, and somebody could just press a button and Uber or Lyft or, whatever platform will show up, at the door. So it's just kind of thinking about uh enhancing people's workflow and kind of making it, simplifying it because people are lazy for real. Even dealing with like music production, like, like they have a bunch of apps that do everything. Like, you can't probably see the instruments, but like say, they have you don't need to know how to play. Like they have apps and like code that's pre-written, which is the basic music progressions, so you could just download the unison MIDI packs, and like I said, that's what people are thinking, so just really thinking like, oh, can tech enhance what it, the idea that I have, like I can't really think of nothing off top because I would try to monetize it, but just the idea of any problems that you have, like when say you go, I don't know, to the store or something, and like how they put the self checkout there, because like say it's just long lines, and now it's a self checkout, like so somebody had to, think of that. But just moving on, like, closed mouths don't get fed as well. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're, seeking something out, like you have to let people know. Like if you're selling a product or a service, you have to be vocal about it and be adamant about it as well because people aren't just a lot of, especially dealing with like music, a lot of people think just because they make it people will like buy it and that just because they did it and put it out that they'll be successful, but you have to like come with a marketing plan and a strategy and stuff like that. Understand your target market, target audience, which I'll get into in the next slides. But being a risk taker, I said that mom and pops, family businesses, stuff that we don't kind of see a lot right now. But if it's a mom and pop business, it's something that you know they're entrepreneurs because say the mom could cook, and I'm just saying, say the mom cooks and the dad, he counts the money, and at the end of the day he's the person at the register, she's cooking, they got kids in there, helping out here and there. You might have like the little kid on the register, but that's kind of your typical family business. Even, depending on what community you live in, definitely back in the days when I was growing up, like candy stores and stuff like that, so those are, forms of entrepreneurship. But when you think of, you know, the longevity, that's kind of, the next slide. But kind of piggybacking into this before I go to the next slide, the community impact, that's kind of dealing with the social enterprise and just really the impact that it will have. Because if you have like a community development corporation that's basically helping, with community development and working with the various departments of planning and development and stuff like that, and the various city governments that have access to all the resources, that the governmental resources that will help businesses such as mine and yours, you know uh what is the community impact, like how will it reflect the residents who live in the areas in which you're trying to serve or you're already served, you know and that's really something to think about because that's entrepreneurial like, because even as a nonprofit, you're raising funds, but it's the donors actually want to, they kind of want a return on their investment. They're not looking for profits, but they're looking for, like I said, the community impact and the impact reflected on the residents in which you're serving as far as like towards your mission, you know the value proposition. And this is kind of just really thinking business, because once you have your business and all that, like you have to like think of this stuff. I mean, you could, and I'll talk about that in another slide, but like you could do something that's you know like gonna be around for a couple, months or a couple seasons, but you kind of want to think, excuse me, longevity wise, and having a viable business that'll sustain. So your value proposition is the promise of value that's delivered, communicated, or acknowledged, to your customer, knowing that, okay, if I buy, this tire because my tire busted, I could pay you $50 and you'll, say a normal tire would cost, a new one would cost 100 something, and they'll give me a $50 one, you know, and that's the value exchange. People don't really look at that, but when you go in the store and pay them some money for something and they give you a receipt, that's pretty much what's going on, so you kind of have to look at the value proposition of what it is that you're selling, because obviously if it's, you know, if you're giving like a pretty fair price on a pretty, like a valuable commodity, like it's kind of a fair exchange, it's like, say I give you something for $40 for 30 or 20, like, the value proposition is so at the end of the day, that's kind of how you have to think about it. And then when at kind of down here at the bottom, if you could see it, just when you think about it, it's like the value equals the benefits minus the cost. And the cost includes the economic risk, and that's, when you think about monetarily what it is, like if I give you $50, is it worth $50? That's, you got to think like a consumer, you know, for real. So the target market, and this is just more marketing stuff, but if you're an entrepreneur, this is what you need to be thinking about, before you start a business, like think of, you know, the group of customers whom you're going to be selling your products and services to. And then you could actually, direct your marketing efforts directly towards them, and you could speak the specific languages, as far as like, because you know the demographic, their location, their income level, you know, their buying power, geographically where they're located and stuff like that. So when you have all access to, this data, which all these people, use against you, if you don't know, and it's not necessarily against you, they actually end up creating a customer profile for you. And then now, once they have all this stuff, they could kind of put you in a database and, know stuff about your lifestyle, age, obviously the same demographics from before, but it's like they have more because like now they know your various buying patterns, purchases, purchasing preferences, your stage of life, and they could kind of just, pinpoint you from kind of from your digital footprint. But this is more like, you pinpointing it, but it's companies, Cambridge Analytica, Facebook, and all that stuff. Like you could buy all this stuff, you know. But at the end of the day, like it's all kind of compiled together, which is what's uh I guess commonly known as customer relationships management, CRM, stuff like MailChimp, Constant Contact, HubSpot. I mean, it's so many, but it's pretty much the process in which a business or other organizations uh, administer the interactions with their customers, uh, and they have all the data to whereas they could pinpoint. It's like if say you're with Sprint or Verizon, and you've been with them for years, but they have to, you know, call in and they have to load up their system, and once they look and they have the file, and kind of to piggyback off of this, like you all might know or might not know, but Ryan Leslie, you could definitely look him up. But he had a thing called Superphone. I believe Steve Stout with United Masters, he ended up purchasing the technology, But what Superphone did, kind of to quickly tell the story. So Ryan Leslie was signed to Bad Boy, I believe, and he sold I think like 400,000 records, and then when his second album came out, he only sold like 150,000. And then, like he was saying, where's the CRM? Because, like, say you're signed to a major label and say you sell 400,000 records, you don't have a mailing list of 400,000 people, the label did, and when he did this was when he started, like marketing himself directly to, his fans, kind of like on the super fan side, and the whole thing was now all his fans have access to him just like he has access to them. And, by you having all of this compiled, this is what leads to, the next slide, email marketing, you know, which I think I was alluded and basically said earlier. But pretty much email marketing, yeah, that's pretty much what email marketing is, like the MailChimp. But the CRM is kind of the data that actually, that's compiled from all the relationships, and then with you tagging them and actually importing them onto a spreadsheet and stuff like that. But once you like have, you know, just say you have your list, like you could basically send, like if you go on your email, I'm quite sure about 98% of it is gonna be, I call it spam, even though if it's stuff that you would click on, but this is really the game changer. I mean, I'm not heavy with it, but I'm learning how to actually, manage my list. Like I have a list that you all will be in now because you all signed up for this event. But it's like that's the list that you, from what my advisors and people that I work with have been telling me, like those are the people that you really want to engage with, like the active people that you speak with. So just really, creating and compiling a new list from scratch, or from people that to pretty much send out mass communications and commercially have something that people could click on. If like say my event next week, like when I send this event out, it'll have the event from next week out on it. And you could pretty much pinpoint all the the physical emails, and you have access to the data and analytics to know, like, oh, this person opened this message, this person clicked on this message, and you could do with MailChimp, you could import up to 2,000 contacts for free, and you could send 12,000 emails, and that's great, like for as an artist or just for a small business, that's, I would say that's great because everything is in the automations, like I automate. I'm not sure if you all are familiar with Hootsuite, but I use that, like that definitely automates, everything, and you could schedule your posts, you know, Hootsuite. I'll put it in the chat, like like Hootie and the Blowfish. I'll put it in the chat up here. But yeah, Hootsuite, yeah, it's definitely a game changer because like I said, I use that to basically promote all of my events, and I won't like spill my whole but like I said, like I basically utilize that because I don't have time to be on social media, and social media obviously is a time drainer, and me being a creative, like I only have so much time to be creative, because I have to like live life as well, so at the end of the day, like I can't be sitting like on, like social media trying to like figure stuff out. So, you know, hold on. But yeah, like I was saying, like with by having access to something like Hootsuite, it gives you 30 posts per month, so you could actually use this and you could post, up to 30, it's not 30 times because and then let me rewind. You could only on the free account, you obviously could pay and upgrade, but on the free account, you could have three socials, like, and they have like, I mean, I use the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, but they have like, Google Plus, YouTube, I mean, they have like everything that you Snapchat, like WhatsApp, probably, like, all those type of things. And then you could just kind of schedule posts out, and then you wouldn't have to per se sit around and post, like, if you're doing events and stuff like that. I find it real helpful if you're on a schedule. And that's what, like, I do my events on Thursday, so I kind of schedule my posts out to kind of promote up until the event. But email marketing is, i would say I would say that's the Mailchimp as well. It doesn't allow you to schedule on the free account, but when you're sending out emails, you can also do what they call a social post, and you could do the same thing as Hootsuite, but it's not scheduled. You could pay for it and they'll let you schedule it. But through MailChimp, you could, like, if say you send out a mass email blast to all these people, and then, you want to send some of the same content from the email to, like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you could instantly do that right in the post. And then you could like uh make copies of it. So if you wanted to like kind of do it on a schedule, you would have to go do it because it won't schedule it. But if you have, like, you could create a copy, and then once you have the copy or template in there, you could just go in and boom, you know. So yeah, to kind of keep it. Did I switch that? Yeah, to kind of keep it going. And another, I would, if I didn't mention it, you might know or might not. Crowdfunding. You know, such platforms like, GoFundMe, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. I mean, it's a lot, but it's pretty much the common practice of, like fundraising, but it's kind of for like a project or a venture. With GoFundMe, they kind of do it for like, like if like for pretty much anything, but at the end of the day, like you're basically getting uh a large amount of people because it's global, worldwide, and anybody could click on this site and, say like, oh, I'll give them $5, or whatever, depending on what depending on your campaign. Like I know Kickstarter, you're more so driven to give the donor perks, so if say like you're a filmmaker or something like that and you're trying to get funding to, shoot your short or something like that, or shoot a feature length, and like, like say the grand one, like say you give $1,000 and they'll like say you're an executive producer or something like that, but like, say like for $10 they'll give you like a poster or something. I don't know, but it's like, like $25 they'll give you the poster and like, like tickets to the premiere, or a link to watch it on Netflix or something like that. But crowdfunding, I would say, is, you know as a creative, I would definitely say crowdfunding can, get a project funded, as well as, seeking out grants as well. I mean, I didn't put grants on here, but, you know, the resources page, it kind of leads you to some people that would end up telling you grants. But I'll tell you right now, grants as well. But the grants are competitive, and you would have to, obviously know specifically what it is that you're trying to, what it is that you're trying to do. And whatever it is that you're trying to do is going to have to align with the mission or whatever it is that the grant is for, you know? So, yeah, I would definitely say grants and crowdfunding, you know, uh, and kind of to just, because getting close to the end. So, like I said, the business viability, you know, and when you think about your business and whatever it is that you're trying to start or want to start or already doing, the viability of it means, is it or does it have the potential to be successful, you know? And for a business to be profitable, that means for it to have more revenue than the expenses. I don't know if you know the accounting equation, but your revenues minus your well, that's not the accounting equation because it's the assets minus liability equals owner's equity, but your revenues minus your expenses equals your net worth or your net profit, or net loss, but at the end of the day, by you, understanding, your revenues as well as your expenses, how will you generate revenue? What will be your sources of revenue? Will it be active revenue? Will it be passive, revenue, as far as like, if say say you do, say you make music and, people license your music, that would be passive because of like, you originally put out a mixtape or an album or something, and then now Power then picked up your song. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but like that's kind of the stuff that you would have to think about. As far as like with your business being viable, and then like what will be the revenue streams, whether they'll be active, passive, and they could be both. It could be a mix, but definitely think about what could cut costs and just the thinking moving forward and just kind of showing you know uh the PowerPoint from what they're saying, like when you think about the labor costs, are you gonna expand, recruit employees, you know uh what is the competition doing, is this business viable, what's going on with the industry, could you change up anything that you're doing to make to cut an expense, and when you just kind of start thinking about that, that'll kind of help more with the longevity aspect of it, and then when you kind of look at this, the viability, you see up top you have gross profit, which is at the top of the business, but looking down you have the break even, because once you start thinking about it, you got to think about it from a business standpoint. And most creatives, and I'm a creative and I vouch for us creatives, I hate the business part of it, because I hate to, to try to, there's like if say I was to be like, I want y'all to pay me $10 for the, I don't want to put a price tag on it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really the thing. And this isn't like art, but it's a performance, and I'm a performer as well, so that's kind of really what breaks it down, like like you're not really, as a creative, you're not really looking to gain a profit and do all of this stuff, but me personally, I know this is the stuff that I always struggled with, and I never wanted to do, even though I went to school for it, and it's crazy, but at the end of the day, like knowing and understanding, like I said, your revenues and your expenses, what will be your sales, will the business be self-sustaining, do you have capital that you can invest, like that'll actually help, you as an entrepreneur and the business as well. And then, moving forward, you got to think about the sustainability, because if it's viable, okay, is it, is it something that you're going to be doing forever? Do you have an exit strategy? Like, is this business just a fad? Like these are the things that you kind of want to think about. And then, can you support yourself from this, fiscally, financially, excuse me, as well as can you sustain, you know, as far as like, can you retire, excuse me, can you retire from, from doing whatever it is you're doing, So if you, say you want to work and, I don't know, I can't really think, but just say whatever it is that you're doing, like, you could basically, can you support yourself, and what is the forecast and the expectations of the industry, dealing with the current climate of now, you know like, for real. Because it's like if you were had a big open event space, then you probably took a hit for, a while. And you probably still not even functioning at full capacity. So it's like, you kind of have to figure the pivot out as far as like with what would be the next best option, because it's like most spots that were like big and like easily accessible, they've turned into like COVID vaccination sites. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, and and not to really even talk about that, but like I was talking to my guy and them, like we're kind of living in the I call it the COVID industrial complex, because it's like right now, you know, if you have a business, or if you have a business model or something that is in some way, shape, form, or fashion associated with anything that got to do with that, you're profiting. So if you really want to look at, you know, the just look at everything. Like that's just kind of the way it breaks down, you know? So uh as a creative, I definitely don't want to miss that. But the level of success, like what it, because a lot of people, say you go into a partnership, and you know you want to make millions, but he only want to make, or he or she only wants to make thousands, So it'll be in a conflict of interest, because once y'all make them thousands, they not gonna be working as hard, you know what I'm saying? Because they tapped out. If you're trying to, get here and they're content with their, or you have to think about these things, beforehand. And me being a creative, like I said, I never thought of none of this stuff, like, I do music. This is what I've done my whole life, and nobody explained none of this stuff to me. Even when I was in school, they didn't break it down to me. They probably brushed over it, and not how I'm talking about it, but they like literally like brushed over it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so at the end of the day, as a creative, you're dealing with a market and the climate that's constantly changing their tastes, So, like I said, will it sustain, Because it's like, it's kind of dealing with fads, and I always relate stuff to music and like arts, because that's what I do. But when you kind of think of like, just say like, you know, computer type music, and like as far as like stuff that doesn't really have like any soul to it, like, like a lot of music that's out now, that's, I mean, somebody told me that a couple years back, but at the end of the day, like, how long is it gonna be around? You know, like it's definitely gonna be room for greatness, so at the end of the day, like, that's something I would say think about, because, like I said, people are gonna constantly change their tastes, and you really don't want to deal with people that are following fads. I mean, if you want to, hop in, it's, I won't say don't jump in, make your money. I ain't knocking you, but at the end of the day, know that that's what you're getting into, because most people with fads, they are meant to, they come in and they die out, so you got to know to hop off before it, die out. So that's just something to think about, you know. And then obviously know what sets you apart from your competition, and use that to your benefit, And I mean, that'll definitely help you sustain, because if if say you're opening up a restaurant, and like, just really thinking like, with everything now, everything is kind of based off marketing. So just thinking like, just say food, just I said a restaurant, and like just think of like gluten free and vegan and just all the different labels that all this stuff have, and 100% natural and this and that. And it's not even like a guarantee that all this stuff is that. So the reality is, that's cool. Yeah, I'm pretty much about done, but yeah, the reality is, just really setting yourself apart from your competition, and really using that to your benefit. I would say that's more, you know, that's more beneficial in the long run. And kind of I already said it, but knowing the expectations and the forecast of the market and the industry, and that's how you'll really, get it, like for real. So uh if you don't know, these are the actual resources, and you know, they're definitely uh I think all of them are free. Some are not. I won't say all of them, but I know depending on the Chamber of Commerce, but the SBA, the Small Business Administration, they definitely, help small businesses. Your local Chamber of Commerce, I don't know where you at, but when you think about that, like that's really the, the spot where they're helping businesses that are in whatever community they're in, and depending on your ethnicity, they have like the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I mean, it's just so many, like every neighborhood has one. The Inglewood Chamber of Commerce, the Wicker Park Chamber of Commerce, so different various community development corporations, so when you start dealing with all these different organizations, they all could help with whatever it is that you're trying to do, and then if they can't, they'll point you into the right direction. The SBDCs, the Small Business Development Centers, which most of them work hand in hand with the CDCs, and they're working, in the various communities, and I can attest because I've, received help from several of them, SCORE, the Service Corporation of Retired Executives. They definitely provide a lot of resources and help as well. And with everything like being online, like most of their teachings and stuff, not teachings, but most of their one-on-ones is virtual. So the Women's Business Development Center. Uh, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they definitely help uh, entrepreneurs, and you don't have to be a woman. Like for real. I definitely know. Most definitely. Uh, and then lastly, and I'm gonna get to your question, the PTAC, you know, uh, which is the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. And what they do is they kind of help with more of like, government contracting issues and stuff like that, even with like import and export and stuff. So they're pretty much real good as well. And then, I hit the wrong button. And then yeah, uh I'm gonna get to your question. So yeah, most definitely. All right, cool. Well, yeah, like I said, I could definitely, help out with that because like I said, I guess I kind of keep, since you don't have any questions, I kind of keep this going. So, these programs and workshops that we do, they're actually on behalf of two different nonprofit organizations. The first one is Chicago Artistic Alliance, and Their mission is to deliver arts awareness in urban communities, and the target focus groups are low to moderate income youth, ages 10 to 18. And we offer workshops, mentoring, youth outreach, and DIY training. And this concept is to help them develop a professional portfolio, as well as work with professionals in the industry, uh, as well as work with their peers as well. We're very passionate about this task because the programs help create a positive environment for expression and an outlet for discovery. And, to find out more about them, you could go to chicagoartisticalliance.org. And, lastly, Railroad Tracks Music Academy. And Railroad Tracks Music Academy's mission is to raise the standards of musicianship and entrepreneurship in urban communities through professional development and higher music education. And our target focus group is ages 18 to 24-year-old creatives that reside in low to moderate income level areas that are below the poverty income level. We offer mentoring, workshops, DIY training, and workforce development, and we also prioritize those underprivileged and underserved. And you can find out more about them at railroadtracksmusicacademy.org, you know. And yeah, this is my contact information as well. So
why should the black man in America concern himself, since we've been away from the African continent for 400 years, 300 or 400 years? Why should we concern ourselves? What impact does what happened to them have upon us?